What is going on? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are going to be reviewing CBS's brand new 2024 NFL mock draft. If you guys are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And as if you guys have not already noticed, I'm dressed up. Why? Because I just graduated a couple hours ago. So thank you so much for all the wishes you guys have already sent to me. I still, yes, on my graduation day, I'm going to be cranking out a video. That's just what it is. I'll be posting this tomorrow, so I will be a day ahead, but I still love you guys. I want to make sure we have some good momentum in the week. And I know that we get the most reactions when it comes to CBS. So let's have some fun while doing it. So it's going to be a great day. Want to end it off with a bang with you guys. Let's get right into this and have a great time. As you know what? Even though college is over, the show is not. And I tried to do some HTML BS because CBS has this weird ass pop up on the top. So bear with me as this atrocious ass little gap here will continue to persist, but that's okay. Starting off with the number 1 overall selection, we have the Bears taking Caleb Williams. You know, again, I am a little bit hesitant. This is a live reaction. I'm a little bit hesitant on Josh Edwards' mock drafts because this dude has absolutely no form of creativity when it comes to something that's new. Let's see what happens. But if the Bears cannot trade out of this spot and you can't trade Justin Fields, I personally would be going Marvin Harrison Jr. If you can get really good compensation for Justin, because I believe in Justin, I do, then, if you can get good compensation, we'll see what happens. Maybe you could take Caleb Williams. I think he is the best quarterback in the class, but he's not as foolproof as you think. Like, he does have some legitimate flaws. There are some legitimate worries, but this would be a system that Caleb Williams works well in. I'd choose Marvin Harrison here. But again, it really is dependent on what you can get for Justin Fields. Again, I would go Marvin Harrison Jr. or trade out. At pick number 2, we got Drake May going to the Patriots. I think even if Caleb's on the board, Drake May is going to be their guy. Is it just because a white dude fits very well in New England? I don't know. I don't know if that's the stereotype people go for, because a white quarterback's kind of been the thing for the Patriots for a long time. Like, there's just something about Drake's face. Maybe it looks like the Patriots logo. Who knows? But ultimately, Drake May, just for some reason, there's an intangibility to him that makes him fit with the Patriots. I don't necessarily think he's the best quarterback on the board. Again, I have Jaden Daniels, and then I have Bo Nix right next to him. But I have Jaden Daniels clearly as my number 2 quarterback. We'll be doing videos in the new year on that. 2024 is going to be sick because we're actually going to have a bunch of stuff going on there, including tape studies, new rankings, etc. It's going to be great. I'm super stoked for it. You guys should be too. But Drake May is not my number 2 quarterback. He is pretty much everybody else's, though. So, I got to lean a little bit into the common consensus there. Next, we have Marvin Harrison Jr. going to the Arizona Cardinals. He's an amazing player. It's a great position to target if he is on the board. This team needs a wide receiver one. It fits. Everything works here. I'm a big fan of it. At pick number 4, Olu Fashanu goes to the Washington Commanders. I am very happy that we're selecting a star offensive tackle here for Washington with those 2 picks. I do understand, like in the second round, I do understand if, you don't believe the tackles will go as early as I do, why you might want to wait. But I just say with the offensive line, I would feel a lot more comfortable taking swings on deeper edge rushers and deeper offensive tackles. And, just get it right. Don't overcomplicate it. Olu Fashanu is a great pick there for Washington. Bears select Dallas Turner. I know he's done that. Well, actually, no, he used to do that with the Giants. So I totally believe the Bears could easily target Dallas Turner in this after losing Landon Jackson as well as Princely Umanmielen to the transfer portal. Or not transfer portal because Landon decided to return, but Princely decided to go to Ole Miss. We'll talk about that another day because Ole Miss is getting super loaded. Regardless, that round 2 to 3 edge group is just not very good. I do not blame Dallas or the Bears whatsoever if they end up targeting an edge rusher here. Again, you are leaving the offense a little bit vulnerable. This is a top 5 defense in the NFL without Dallas Turner. I am all for boosting the strength of your team, but I also do realize that the strengths are the strengths, and if you can't get enough wins with strengths, you got to bolster your weaknesses too. I think that if you ended up going Marvin Harrison Jr. and Dallas Turner, perfectly fine with me. I would personally try to trade out, see what draft capital you can get. But I do understand if there is a philosophy there. If you can trade Justin for, even if you trade your 3rd round pick and Justin for a 1st, then maybe you could start talking. So just want to throw that idea out there. Jaden Daniels goes to the Raiders, probably one of my favorite fits for a player in the draft. superstar player, crazy upside. I am worried about his overall durability because of the fact this dude has taken a ton of hits. Now, it hasn't necessarily knocked him out a ton in college, but it has got me a little bit concerned over the longevity of his career, similar to Drake May. Drake May takes some big hits too. He doesn't slide enough. Same thing with Jaden. I want them to slide more. AP coached him for a couple years at ASU. We'll see what happens with AP after the year. But regardless, this is a really good pick for a team. I love AOC, but he's a great backup quarterback. I don't see him being consistent enough yet in order to garner being a starting quarterback. And best case scenario, you have to trade one of them. And, it's pretty nice to get good draft compensation for a star backup quarterback. The Jets then go Joe Alt. That is a phenomenal selection. Obviously, if he's there, that's just going to be the prime value that you can get. Super consistent tackle, 6'7", 6'8". You just can't go wrong with it. And the Jets, sometimes it's nice just to get a, plug and play player. Forget about it, Overall, amazing player. Big fan of that pick with Joe Alt. The Giants then go Malik Neighbors. For me, just because I love the idea of getting Brian Thomas. Well, actually, no, not Brian Thomas. Troy Franklin in the next round. I deep down really want to go Bo Nix here. But I do think Malik Neighbors is just such a game-changing player when he can stretch the field that you would really be building another Legion of Zoom, so to speak, with Neighbors as well as Hyatt. There is an incredible upside to Malik. I do believe I'd rather have an X-build receiver than Malik if I am picking this high, but again, Malik Neighbors is a special talent. I'm not going to criticize this pick. It would be a B+ at the very minimum. He's like, the wide receiver room needs help, and Malik Neighbors will definitely be an asset to it. You don't have to force an X-build wide receiver like Keon Coleman, because if you think Malik Neighbors is better, you can find an X-build receiver somewhere else. So going best player available is perfectly fine. I'm not there with Malik being a top 10 player on my board, but I do understand the sentiment, especially for the Giants. At pick number 9, the Tennessee Titans go Brock Bowers. With offensive tackles on the board, I do have a little bit of an issue with this because, I think building through the trenches is just far better of a strategy than building through the weapons. However, this is a pretty damn good backup option. So if you don't want to go offensive tackle, there's no pick better in the draft than Marvin Harrison Jr. and Brock Bowers. So to get the best of the non-offensive lineman players at pick 9, pretty damn good. At pick number 10, the Chargers go J.C. Latham. I've been trying to upgrade that right tackle spot for years. Y'all know this. And I'm glad to see that the Chargers are in striking range. I think they have the 5th pick now, too, based on the current standings, which, the games as of today haven't been fully played out. So, this is me right after graduation. But, as of the time of recording this, the Chargers are rumored to have the 5th overall pick. I'm super stoked to see him get either a star tackle or Brock Bowers. For me, I don't really feel like there's another position you could target that's worth it because the corners are so deep in this class for round 2. So great pick there with J.C. Latham. Falcons go Leatu Latu. Again, I do understand that tier 2 of edge rushers really not too bueno. This team could definitely use some upgrades in terms of their edge rushing group. I would not blame them for this, but deep down inside, I think the biggest way to make this team win is by adding a new quarterback in. So if you want to go to free agency for that, makes sense. Obviously, this is not a 2-round mock draft. Maybe we'll have J.J. McCarthy on the board for him at, was that going to be, pick 43? So, if that happens, cool. That makes sense. But for right now, I do have my concerns in terms of, the quarterback being a real limiter on the team. The Saints then go Rome Odunze. They just got to upgrade at QB. You got to take a swing on one. If the QBs are on the board, like Bo Nix, you just got to take it. You got to take a swing on it. But Rome Odunze is a great player. He deserves a reevaluation. I actually have him as my wide receiver 11, and that was based on the games that he played with a punctured lung and a broken rib. So without that, God only knows where he could end up. A lot of respect for Rome as well for playing through that. Like, one of the things I always look out for with my players that I would want to draft is mentality. And, being able to play through something that honestly probably shouldn't have played through is just like, that's true dedication right there. That's putting your balls on the line and saying, hey, I'm going to be willing to make myself worse off to make sure my team is better off. Major respect to Rome Odunze there. I do think the Saints could use a player like that, but again, similar to the Falcons, I don't think the wins above replacement value for Rome Odunze is as much as someone like Bo Nix. JJ McCarthy goes here to the Seattle Seahawks. We'll see how he does in the playoff. That's honestly going to be the super intriguing aspect of. I think he plays Alabama very, very soon. So next couple of weeks we'll be seeing that, and that's going to be super exciting. JJ McCarthy, he has a ton of upside. He is my QB6 at the moment. He flashes consistently here and there. And again, with all the quarterbacks, I am purposely watching their worst games. So with JJ McCarthy, I ended up watching a pretty average game of his here and there, and then I made sure to watch how he played versus Maryland because mistakes transfer over more than successes. So for me, I see a ton of the upside with JJ. Still a bit too light for me, but I am glad he beat that 200-pound mark. I think he's a great fit for Seattle, just a little bit early for me. Then we got the Rams going Nate Wiggins. I would prefer to, look at Talise Fuaga and put him to left tackle and see what happens there just because, well, one, y'all know what I think of Talise. He's there number 7 on my board. But also, I think the cornerback value is pretty damn solid in this draft. So you could get a really good corner. No disrespect to Nate Wiggins. He's a very smart player. I think he'd be a star zone corner because his field instincts are that good. But the Rams could certainly use somebody on the boundary. I'm not against it. I just think there might be a little bit better value elsewhere. Then we got the Broncos going Kool-Aid McKinstry. He's going to be the star next to Pat Surtain. I totally think this is a viable pick for the future. Again, similar to what the Eagles do. This feels a little bit early, maybe a little premature to go corner so high. But usually when you have to pick a position, that's when it's too late. So I'm not going to be against it if this happens. I do think wide receiver is a better position to target, however, especially with guys like Keon Coleman on the board and how much Russ is trusted pony up. Our boy over there in, why am I forgetting his name? I was just about to say it and I just forget it. Okay, whatever. You guys know who I'm talking about. I want to say Sutton Smith so badly, and I'm like, why is that the name that pops up into my head? Cortland Sutton. There we go. Actually, the guy who ended up making me want to come to SMU. So, funnily enough, on my grad day, forget the one guy's name who was the reason I came here because I just loved Cortland Sutton. And it's good to see that, hey, it is what it is. But that's probably where I would go. Having Cortland Sutton as well as Keon Coleman would be ridiculous. Pick number 16, the Arizona Cardinals go Jared Verse. An incredible player. I would not blame the Cardinals for going Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jared Verse. I think defensive interior is a little bit better value here with Jerzon Johnny Newton. But if you want to target edge rusher, that round 2 edge rusher group, again, is super weak now that, you're having to deal with much less options available with 2 of the best ones being able or deciding not to come out in this draft. At pick number 17, the Bills go Terrion Arnold. With Cooper DeJean on the board, for me, even though Terrion Arnold is a top 10 player at number 8, I think Cooper DeJean as a safety option for Buffalo and just having the versatility to be everywhere, to me, that's worth more. Obviously, in my opinion, you should be going right tackle here with Talise Fuaga, but that's a conversation for another day. Terrion Arnold's my number 1 corner. I think he's incredible. I think he's super smart. Comps to me to be a smaller version and a slightly worse version than JPJ. To me, that's perfectly fine. He has amazing field instincts, very similar to Nate Wiggins, but I do think he has a little bit more of the edge. Incredible player. And the Bills, I'm not going to blame them for going corner. You can never have enough corners, as PFF used to say, or they might still say it. I don't keep up enough with their content, even though their content is phenomenal. Just naturally, when I do this much content, sometimes I get a little bit burnt out on watching more football analysis. It is what it is, but got to show some love there to those guys at PFF. They are incredible. At pick number 18, Johnny Newton goes to the Bengals. I do like seeing a new type of position for the Bengals in the first round. I would be targeting Talise Fuaga here, like full pedal to the metal, but Johnny Newton, defensive interior, is actually a really solid move, especially if they don't have DJ Reader back. This team does thrive on its defensive line being extremely underrated and very dominant. Johnny Newton would continue that. The Packers go Amarius Mims here. I am not against it. He's going to be super versatile, very athletic. I doubt he comes out, but the Packers can steal a high upside tackle in this part of the draft. I would be losing my marbles for him, like in a very good way. I think this is an excellent selection. If you end up wanting to go Cooper DeJean at this point, I understand, and then you could end up targeting potentially, well, since you have 2 second-round picks, you could even move up for a star tackle like Amarius Mims. Regardless, next with the Buccaneers at pick 20, they select Cooper DeJean. You get versatility in terms of special team play right away. He can play safety, he can play corner, he can play slot. There's just a role for him to play on your team. And I really love that. I think that he could end up being a massive asset to any franchise that he goes to. He might be 25th on my overall board, but that's just because of the fact that I don't have that much value for somebody who is super versatile and doesn't have a true native position yet. But if I'm a team wanting someone to be on my roster and have an impact early on, this is a dude who I'm very comfortable doing that with. Big fan of Cooper DeJean. Tip my cap off to him because, again, he works his ass off 24/7. He can play offense, he can play defense, he can play special teams to a very, very high level. I would go quarterback here, but again, just got to analyze the pick as it is. At pick number 21, the Indianapolis Colts selected JT Tuimoloau. I'm not a fan of JT Tuimoloau personally to the Colts. I like him overall as a player. If you're going to be going after an edge rusher, I think Chop Robinson has the higher ceiling. Again, there's going to be differences in opinion here, but I don't think edge rusher is the position I would really target for the Colts this early on. I just don't really believe that's the biggest issue for this team to focus on. When you are looking at the available options, honestly, Talise Fuaga, potentially training him to be the tackle of the future at right or left, and then having him as a guard in the short run, that might be your best bang for your buck. Again, I'm extremely for him because of the fact he's my number 7. Probably will end up jumping Olu again once I end up watching the end of the season tape, but just unbelievable talent. Wide receiver as well, Keon Coleman's here. I think he'd be that X build to pair with Michael Pittman, as well as Josh Downs and Alec Pierce. There's a lot. I would definitely prefer that one, but going after a high value position like edge rusher, I still would give this pick probably a C+ or a B-, just because it is still a solid pick based on the value. You're getting a good edge rusher with a great frame with still untapped potential at a very high value position. So that's going to be the devil's advocate selection there. Chop Robinson for the Minnesota Vikings. I would prefer to go quarterback. So we'll throw that out the window right there. It's the obvious counter here. Chop Robinson, though, pairing up with Danielle Hunter is dangerous. This is my second favorite pick that they can make besides a quarterback. So good job with that. I am a big fan of Chop Robinson, especially when you get the mentorship of someone who has the same assets and liabilities as Chop. Talise Fuaga to the Steelers once again. You know what? I usually get grouchy at the fact that Josh does not change up his mock drafts very much. This is one of those picks I'm perfectly fine with him keeping. Number 7 player overall on my board going to the Steelers, who could definitely use an upgrade at right tackle if Broderick moves to left. Pick number 24, the Texans go Emeka Egbuka. I'd prefer to go defensive interior with potentially Tavondre Sweat here, but I am not going to complain about Emeka Egbuka, who, to be fair, could conflict with Nico Collins in terms of their overall play style. But you have that instant chemistry there with CJ Stroud. I think CJ, when he is in rhythm, could be one of the most dangerous passers, and you don't need to have that chemistry because he builds it already with the receivers he has. I don't think adding chemistry from before is going to be much of an asset. He really does know exactly where receivers are going to be. So I would go BPA. I would go Keon Coleman here over Emeka Egbuka. Even though I think Emeka Egbuka, talent-wise, might be better than Keon. Keon has a unique body frame that really complements the receiving core and would be a better impact than Emeka. So that's a little counter right there. But Keon Coleman ends up going to the Chiefs. Personally, I would flip these two. But again, Keon Coleman to the Chiefs would be nasty. I don't know how Patrick Mahomes would use a weapon like Keon Coleman. I haven't really studied enough of a true X receiver. This would be their DeAndre Hopkins, essentially, that they weren't able to get. This would be a ridiculous steal, and I'd be very stoked to see it. Of course, then, talk about a drop-off. You're going from Keon Coleman right down to Brian Thomas for the Jaguars at pick number 26. He's a really fast guy in a straight line, but similar to Keon Coleman, does not have the nuances of the game down. Keon's farther along than Brian is in terms of route running and release package, but, it is what it is. You're essentially getting a worse version of Keon Coleman who's lighter, not as good at the jump ball in my opinion, because Keon is ridiculously talented at the jump ball. And, just overall very underdeveloped. Good wide receiver, round 2 target, absolutely. And I think this fits a role that the Jaguars need. If they end up hitting on their second round pick, where maybe I thought that second round pick should be a first rounder, right? I think that would make me feel a lot more comfortable with this pick because at the end of the day, you bring all your draft choices in and then they have a roster spot, right? So it doesn't matter when you selected them as long as you did. So again, this would have to, like, overall, the draft class would make me comfortable or not comfortable with this pick. I do think he should be a second round selection, maybe a third, but not a first. We got Troy Fautanu, going to be that right guard there for the Detroit Lions at pick number 27. With an edge rusher like Braylon Trice on the board, I find it very difficult to justify interior offensive linemen, especially with how many good ones there are on the board. Hell, Bo Limmer in the third round, hell yes. I didn't even think he was going to come out because I thought he might have exercised one more year of eligibility because guys can just always find an excuse to get an extra year. But no, no, he's in the East West Shrine Bowl, so we'll be able to see him here in Dallas, which would be sick. But Troy Fautanu, he still will be a great addition, but I do think there's just better value. Kingsley Suamate goes to the Philadelphia Eagles at pick number 28. I think this is as good of a pick as you could pray for Philly because you're getting a Lane Johnson contingency plan. And I mean, the best pick that you can hope for is Talise Fuaga falling to you. That's just not going to happen. But Kingsley will sit for a year. Kelsey will retire. Lane, his best friend's Kelsey, so he probably will be out of there too. Yes, he's under contract till 2027. Guys, people go off their contracts early all the time. He has enough money, and I can almost guarantee you, most likely when the momentum is starting to stop, guys are going to say, hey, why am I hurting myself? Why am I going to get more CTE, more issues down the line? It is a strong contingency plan to have someone like Kingsley Suamate, who is both good at left and right tackle, to be able to be on your roster. Eagles draft a year before we think they need to. That's why they have such a damn good roster, because they have guys who fill in as soon as you need a guy to fill in, who already are experienced in a year ahead of where most teams would be putting in somebody into that role. So I think this is an excellent selection. Again, edge rusher is a great one too. You could always talk about another corner here, but I think Kingsley Suamate is one of the best picks that you can ask for. Graham Barton then is the selection for the Miami Dolphins at pick number 29. So with Connor Williams tearing his ACL, I love the idea of getting someone as versatile as Graham Barton for the Dolphins. It really is like as good as you could really ask for. Personally, I do like the idea of upgrading at safety as well with potentially Tyler Nubin, who will be the next pick, or with Cam Kinchins, because I do think like you don't really need to upgrade there, but you could actually make a considerable improvement. And there are a lot of really good centers in this class. So that's why I would push in that regard. But you have someone with Graham Barton here who is super versatile, can play almost every position on the line. That would come in handy, especially if, let's just say Connor Williams actually he's a free agent. Forgot about that. But let's just say Connor Williams resigns for a year and you have Wynn and Hunt deciding to leave. You can have Graham Barton play guard, or if one of these guys signs, you can have him play center. And if you have a good backup center, for example, he can end up moving to guard in case of an injury. Like, that's what I love. The versatility is what I love. And, I picked out 29. It's a little bit rich for the actual talent of Graham, but the versatility, especially on a contending team, being able to know that any massive gap on your roster that opens up can be filled is kind of what makes a championship team. Health is a big determinant on how good a team's going to be in the Super Bowl. And if you have someone who can fill in the biggest weaknesses, that could be a massive asset. So big fan of that. Pick number 30, we have the Dallas Cowboys selecting Tyler Nubin. I need to see the Dallas Cowboys safety contracts. I don't feel like safety is a position I would necessarily target here. It's Jordan Morgan, and I know that a lot of you guys are a big fan of that as well, being able to get a future over Tyron Smith. At pick number 31, we got Tyler Guyton coming out for the San Francisco 49ers. It's an upgrade at right tackle. He ended up actually, I think, getting potentially benched in his final game. It was intriguing, but he did end up declaring. So he's going to be coming out. I'm excited to see where. But this would be a massive addition for the San Francisco 49ers. I'd be stoked to see how he developed under Trent Williams. And at pick number 32, the Baltimore Ravens go on Quinyon Mitchell, ball hawk out of Toledo. Like, I think this guy could be this sneaky guy who randomly pops into the first round just because he probably has incredible length. I don't know what his measurements are. He's not necessarily the tallest guy in the world, but 12 pass breakups, incredible. He really does have a nose for the football, and that is the Raven way. With Jordan Morgan on the board, I would be targeting offensive tackle here. And that's coming from me, where I don't usually target tackle for the Ravens. Ronnie Stanley's been extremely unreliable in terms of health. I think you need to have a contingency plan there and could potentially upgrade right tackle if Stanley gets healthy. So I love that overall. That is going to be the video. Thank you so much for showing all the love that you always do. Yeah, I'll see you next week, man. See you on the far side. Peace.